Welcome to Film2Field Case Studies, where we sit down with players, coaches, and football professionals to break down the lessons, habits, and study processes that drive success on and off the field. In today's case, we sit down with head coach Dale Smith from New Hope Soulberry in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Tell me about your football journey. How did you become the man that I'm sitting here talking to today? And
I grew up in Reading, which is about an hour and a half east of the Philadelphia. It's an inner city. I played at Reading High School,
okay,
and then I went on to college. I played at Del Valle University. I played 2 years at defensive end, and then I switched over to offensive line. I originally got into coaching as a way to, because for me, football was always an outlet. Growing up, because I grew up in foster care, so it was a way for me to be able to escape things and not have to worry about the family dynamic that I was dealing with. And then, obviously it gave me a purpose, and then eventually gave me an education, opportunity to get an education at the next level. And then the next logical step was coaching. One of the girl I dated in college, she was the one that really pushed me into it. She, because I guess she could see I was just working. I was kind of unhappy, and she said, give it a try. You might like it. And it turned out probably to be the best decision I ever made. Obviously.
That's beautiful, Coach. That's beautiful. So let's go back. I just want to retrace a little bit. When you say football is an outlet, and it was an outlet for me, and it is for so many other kids, what did it help you process? And don't get into too many details, you know what I mean? But what did the game help you process or get out? Or what were your coaches teaching and putting in your mind that helped your in development, even on or off the field?
For me, it was that brotherhood that, and that family that I was kind of lacking, that togetherness. And it taught me, obviously, the natural life skills that it teaches you, from teamwork, from, determination, persistency. And I came across some really great coaches, during my time at Reading High. One of them, Coach Murph, who was a big inspiration for me, because if you came through the Reading system, everybody knew who Coach Murph was. It didn't matter which coach and staff was there. He was still always a part of that Reading system, like that feeder system, and then the ninth grade, and he helped out with the varsity. But he was such an inspiration, because he didn't yell very often, and he'll put his arm around you, and he'll teach you. And he was just very patient with a lot of us. He understood, a lot of us, where we were coming from. And and that's what we needed at that point in time, all of us, growing up.
My outside of my family, my head football coach was the first male in my life where he didn't use aggression and violence to teach and control. And he was the first person that I was like, okay, maybe there is a way to get your point across, be respectful but firm, and still be assertive, but you don't have to be a beast. And you can take that, if you want to be a beast, you play defense, or you take that out on the field. So
I mean, he'd be like, he'll put your arm on. Hey, Schmitty, what are you doing here? What are you thinking? Let's use our heads. Let's make better choices.
We always need at least one of those people. So, Coach, aside from football, I did a little research.
Okay.
And I see that you are a food connoisseur, and that you love to cook, and that you love a good meal. Where did that passion come from, and what does it mean as a part of your life? Is it just a hobby, or is it something that you really like to cultivate?
Well, my twin brother was a cook for a long time. He, worked in restaurants, as a chef, in the military. So for me, was in college, I started working at the restaurant that he was at, and that's where I learned how to cook. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then it turned into a little bit of a hobby, and that's it allows me to teach my daughter independent living skills. She's been helping cook with me since I could sit her up on the counter.
That's beautiful, man. That is
And I'm a
beautiful.
big guy too, so I love to eat. So,
Yeah, shout out to the offensive line and everybody
right?
that's in the trenches. You know, you guys got to eat down there to stay ready to go. But no, I saw that and I was like, man, coach is okay. He coaches football, but man, some of the dishes that you're coming up with that are on your page, that's awesome. And do you get to like be around? Does the team get to partake in this, or is
Yeah,
this
so I
something
mean,
that's just
a lot of the guys, like my former players, and current players, will see that stuff and they're like, "Oh my god, it looks good." Like I like to cook outside of the box, like not always on like the stovetop, but on the fire. Like we have a fireplace, like even doing a bonfire out back.
yeah,
Like I learned that in the Boy Scouts years ago, how to use tin foil, how to make take hamburger patty and put, the potatoes and veggies in there, stuff like
yeah.
that. Like, because you never know when you're going to need it.
Or you just every once in a while you need to shake it up. You know, you can't just
Right?
have dino nuggets and tater tots for all your life. And as such, so much of our teenagers eat. You know, but coach, I want to go back to the game. This was your first season at New Hope,
This
but
pit, well, as head coach, this is my
okay,
second stint at New Hope. I was with New Hope 2015 to 21, and then left for a few years, and then came back and accepted the head coaching job there.
what has this community meant to you, and how have they received and supported you during this journey of two stints at New Hope?
Um, so you're gonna laugh. Growing up in the inner city, New Hope is obviously a very well-off community. So for me, it was like the first time I was there was culture shock, and I'm like looking around. I was like, oh, so like obviously everybody's incredibly nice.
Yeah,
Everybody was so welcoming and so receptive to you, and the kids were very like they wanted to learn, they wanted to win, which was great. And the second time now, I'm getting a different batch of parents, and it's been great, this time around as well. It's just a very, even though it's something different from what I grew up with,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just a great community.
That's beautiful.
they
That's
they're very welcoming, very supportive, um, and it's just been wonderful.
that's phenomenal, coach. Because sometimes the community can be something that can be detrimental to a coach, but it also, if everybody understands what it can mean when you support, or whenever I leave the stadium on Friday nights in a win or a loss, I get that, hey, coach, you're doing a good job. Thank you for being with my son. Thank you for spending time with him. And when you understand the stuff that's happening outside of the lines, that can catapult you into a long career. So it's great to hear that New Hope is supporting you on this stint, man.
I'm a huge believer that for a program to be a winning program year in and year out, whether it's like a North Penn, North Hills, or any of the other Western, you need the parents, everybody to buy in, the kids to buy in. You need the parents to buy in. You need the administrators to buy in. You need the community to buy in.
Right.
And that's a lot of pieces for everybody to buy in, because if not everybody's bought into what you're trying to do, it's a lot of roadblocks.
For
And
sure.
you know it's
What are
great to have the parents to have your back.
Coach, what are some ways that you kind of foster those relationships or that community building? Because so many times I do hear it, and I definitely I agree with you. But I'm just going to play devil's advocate and say, what are some of the ways that the coach steps out of the box and tries to reach out into the community before the community gives back? So,
The biggest thing that I took away from when I became head coach was the lack of communication.
yeah,
you know the parents just want somebody who communicates with them, shows them the respect that they deserve. I keep them in the loop, with everything. I value their thoughts on things. Ultimately, it comes down to my decision, but I want them to know that I value what they think and what they say.
Yeah.
Same thing with the kids, and same thing with administration. Um, but yeah, it's the biggest thing with is communication. And obviously, I'm a parent myself, and my daughter has in the past done like sports and all that stuff. Is just being someone who talks to you like a human being, and
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah. It doesn't, it takes down the fences, or just breaks that wall of, because you got to remember, and I'm learning this as a parent, because I thought all parents had to figure it out. They knew what was going on. They had the best they had the best responses. They knew everything. And now that as a parent and I'm going through it, I'm like, hey, sometimes I don't know. And sometimes I'm just asking questions just so that I can alleviate some of my anxieties, or I can fill in some of the gaps in my own information and knowledge so that I can be a better parent or better help to the coach or community
Well, I
or the
mean, it's
teammate.
also if I expect the same in return with my players. If
Right.
I expect them to communicate with me, then I better do that as well. Like it's just a level of respect, and like you know,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true for sure, coach. So you're that first that so it's your second stint, first as a head coach. The community buy-in, the player buy-in, and the culture has been like growing and developing around you. What are some of the behaviors that you look for in your team? Because I notice as a teacher, I'm a third grade teacher, and I have more success when I talk about and highlight the behaviors that I want to see than when I in my beginning years when I focused on negative behaviors. For example, don't don't leave your lunchbox at recess. The
yeah.
better expectation and the better conversation I would have with my third graders is, you guys be responsible, and being responsible means you get your lunchbox and bring it back so that you're able to bring it back the next day. So, what type of behaviors do you highlight and really want to see out of your players to help build the culture and the community that you are striving for as a head coach?
For me, the expectations I have are with my players is that yeah, I think the old expression is that the players take on the identity of their coach. And for
Yeah,
me, I'm somebody I'd like to try to be somebody that you can depend on, that you can count on, somebody who's going to go above and beyond to outwork another person, to put that work in, and just that daily grind.
yeah,
Right now, I am that person. I work two jobs. I'm a father. I'm a head coach. So I'm busting my butt for everybody, and that's the expectations that I have for them. I want them to be able to communicate with me. Like if you're going to be late for practice, if you're going to miss practice, just takes a quick text message, or a message up on our huddle, or whatever platform we use for communication. Like if if you need something, like if you're struggling to learn plays, like just come talk to me. uh, I understand that not everybody learns things at the same level, so I'm not in your body. I know what it's like to struggle at things, so like I'm a human being, what I mean, come talk to me. Like uh, there's just like I guess we're preparing them for later on in life, because if you think about how much time we spend with the kids during the season, off season, like we're spending a significant amount of time with them, and obviously we want to prepare them for later on in life. Like
sure.
I want them to know how to deal with adversity. I want them to know how to deal with things that are chaotic around us, and not panic. I want them to be able to trust in the person that's next to you. Depend on them, and I want them to be able to depend on you. Like we one thing that we say for us is we've always said it. Last time I was at New Hope, and even now, it's count on me. I should be able to look to the person to the left and the person to the right of me and say, you can count on me. And that's accountability. Accountability in the classroom, accountability in the community, accountability on the field. Like I got to be able to count on you. You can count on me, and
That's
that's what I want my players to. As coaches, we got to lead that example.
Coach, I love that saying because it's so simple, but it's so powerful as well. Because in those moments when we literally need somebody, and it doesn't have to be on the field, it can be off the field, knowing that you can have somebody that you can seriously count on. And it sounds, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that comes from some of your life experiences as
Yes,
well as who you want your legacy to be left as. You know what I mean? So that's powerful. Count on me. Please and no.
I had to grow up early, very early, and I grew up in a. I'll be 48 soon, so my generation's a lot different than the generation now. But the one thing I just said to these guys a few weeks ago is it doesn't matter if it's a friendship, a relationship, a job, or even sports. Okay, if you treat something like it's an option, you're going to get out of it. What you put into it's not going to succeed. Okay, so in the PIAA, we have some verbiage to where we say, obviously off-season workouts aren't, mandatory, but like if you treat it like that way, it's never going to succeed. If you
Exactly.
treat it like it is mandatory and put the work into it, you're going to get out what you put into it. And if you want a team to have that winning season year in and year out, you treat it as if it is mandatory. Like you see the same programs like North Penn, you see the same programs like out west, to where these guys are 50 strong every practice at minimum, and they still have a good handful who are doing spring sports who show up.
Yep. For
You
sure.
know, you
For
put
sure.
out, what you put out is what you get in.
Yeah, one of my best players that I had was running track. I believe he was doing baseball as well, but he would still come to practice. And even if he was there for the last 15 minutes, he would jump in, he would do the rest of the workout that he had, or if we were installing something in the spring, he had his notebook and his pencil out and he was ready to go because he traded it. Like you said, some students and even some adults, when you hear that it's not mandatory word, they take that as okay, I don't got to do this. And you don't necessarily have to, but you're going to see the difference between a kid who's been here all these days or who's
And
really
if
putting
that's
that
the
work in
attitude
all
that
the
you
days.
take and go into your adulthood, you're never going to have a long lasting friendship, a long lasting relationship. You're going to be in and out of jobs because let's be honest, in the adult workforce, I want somebody that I can depend on who is there every day putting the work in, somebody I can count on. And
Yep,
if I don't have that person, no matter how much I like you, okay, I've got to let you go because I need somebody. It's about business.
yep, that's it. One of my favorite sayings. It was me and a freshman receiver, um, and he used to be at the back of the stretch lines. And so when we were walking through and we were about to start practice, he would look at me and he would say, "Coach Brad, we might as well." And I'd be like, "You know what, Evan? That's right. We might as well because we did the hard job of waking up this morning. We did the hard job of begging our parents to get in the car and get us to practice early. We did the hard job of having our spikes and everything. Now that we're on the field or we're in the weight room, we might as well give it all we got for the next 2 hours."
Right?
And I'm happy to. I want to see what his development is over the course of the year. So, Coach, we went through a little bit of your time at Reading and then your playing career and your coaching career. And you highlighted one coach that was one very instrumental in your life, Coach Murph, I believe you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thomas
Coach.
Murphy.
What are some of his? Because everybody talks about the Tomlinisms and stuff. What are some of his key sayings or phrases that you take with you, or some of the things that are in the back of your head as you continue to coach your coaching career?
As far as like things he would say on a regular basis, I don't remember some of the things, but I can tell you that Coach Murph was, like I said, the type of guy who would put his arm around on you, just around you, and he would just talk to you like a human being. He would talk to you like a dad, and
Yeah,
he would explain things, and not yell. If he, I don't think I and the time I was there, I don't think I ever heard him raise his voice. And, that's big, because the days of the old school coaches that continuously yelling at you and screaming, like, those days are gone. Like, football, we are teachers
Yep.
and we just teach the game of football. And, like, we need to be able to reach our players one way or another. And, like, how do I reach that player who, is, stuck? And, like, how do I connect with that player? And that's what we need to do. And that was my biggest takeaway from with Coach Murph was that he took the time to connect with each and every player that came across that. Because if you're going to dedicate your time to, like, play this wonderful sport all these hours, then he's going to take the time to connect with you and build a rapport with you.
That's it. That's it.
And
And
that's what I try to be as a head coach,
and
or as
players,
a coach. Period.
if you guys are watching, he didn't say that that Coach Dell is going to be a person who may not raise his voice. He might raise his voice if you line up or you make a bonehead mistake, but he's going to do it from a place of love, and you're going to understand probably more 9 times out of 10 why
My
you
daughter
guys
will
did
tell you,
that.
if I raise my voice, and my players will too, you earned it.
You
If
heard
I raise
it.
my voice, you definitely earned it.
Coach, I want to get into a little bit of ball talk here because I watched a little bit of your tape. I was able to watch your game against Bristol, and it was funny because I like to open a game as a play caller with some type of funky formation that you didn't see on film. And I saw you guys had like made like kind of a swinging gate shift
Swing a
into
gate.
the formation where you drew your linemen out. I had a variation of that where I took my tackles and lined them up at receivers. That week of practice was fun because they got to do their receiver stance and yeah, whatever. It was fun, but
They threw me off because when I called that, I was expecting one thing and I got something completely different. They did not adjust to it. So when my quarterback looks over, I'm going, throw the ball.
just
Like
throw it.
he's sitting there, he could jump, and I'm like, no, throw it. Like, have
Just
faith in yourself.
yep,
Like,
just
just throw the
launch it.
ball.
And you got people blocking in front of him. Just like you said, count on your guys to be there and make the block and make the catch and make it happen. So off season is here, right? What is your process of study, coach, that you use whenever you're going into the off season? Does it start with a self scout? Do you pick a team in college or the NFL or another high school team that you study and learn from and use their kind of tactics and add it to your philosophies?
Well, I think you have to start with yourself. I think if you ever want to get better as a team, what did we do right and how can we improve? For us, as for me, as like last year, I called plays. I brought in one of my friends from, Wissahickon, Coach Varney, and Varney is just a dynamic coach, and like, he has also got great rapport with the kids and like his, development. I wanted to be able to give him that opportunity to call plays because he did a little so over Wissahickon, and I thought, like, man, that he could really help us. So he was probably one of the only people I would ever trust to do that. So now that allows me to free up me up as a head coach to be able to do everything else. And offensively, how can we get better? Like, what can we do? How can we simplify things? Defensively, same thing. What my defensive coordinator was our defensive coordinator years ago when I was there the first time. He was
Okay.
been there the last years. So Joe, he's wonderful. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. He is actually a what do you call it, like an air pilot for the U.S. Airlines, or
Oh, wow.
yeah. So like he is one of the smartest people and one of the most level-headed people as well.
Yeah.
So like, how can we get better defensively? How can we get better offensively? What do we want to do? How can we, be able, obviously we graduated a quarterback, we graduated our leading rusher. What do we have coming back and what type of system can we run?
Yeah.
So like you have to do a lot of self reflection and, obviously what pieces do we have? And then like once you figure out what you want to do, then you start looking at like your schedule. For me, so we open up with South Hunterdon. South Hunterdon is right across the bridge, about 10 minutes away. We will, they were once a Thanksgiving Day rival. And it's a great. We're actually getting both schools are getting together this Thursday to host a youth camp on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So it's a nice little rivalry. So I have been watching their films, and okay, so what did they do last year? Defensively, their head coach is their it was their defense coordinator the last 6 or 7 years. So defensively, I probably foresee them probably doing something similar.
Yeah.
Offensively, what did they have? Like while they have their quarterback coming back, they have their so you can start like you did with us to start scouting us and
Hmm.
see what pieces they have in place. Like and you know, for me is why I love watching film because you can tell a lot about like coaches what they like to do and like players are very habit oriented, like they have habits of doing certain things, and how do you exploit those habits? I go back to Bristol was there were certain things I was expecting and certain things that I didn't, obviously didn't happen. So how do you adjust off of that? They were a very talented team, very, very fast. So I had a ton of freshmen playing last year. We were
Yeah.
hit big time with the injury bug.
Yeah.
So how can we produce with what we had playing? So thinking outside the box, like swing and gate. Well, if that's something that I can use to run a handful of times to like get Bristol, on their toes, I guess you could say,
Yep. Slowing
then
down and
that's what
looking.
I have to do. I mean, going back to that game, we had some opportunities. We just didn't take advantage.
Oh
Like,
yeah, when I watched the game, the score didn't tell the story of the game, and I was like, this game was closer than the score depicted because it was like, I mean, football game of inches, but it was like one or two plays, and they jumped out a little bit early. You can tell like some of your
yeah,
kids were trying to get into the game, and they were they're still a little knocking off some of the nerves, but once they still got into a flow, it started to unfold for them a little bit, but.
there was
Um,
one time where we got inside. They think they in 25-yard line, and it was like fourth down, and I called a fake double screen to both sides with a wide delay, and it was just inches from his hands, and I was like, "Ah, that could have been like a walking touchdown." I'm going like if you score there, then who knows what like how
right.
that sets things off like. Because playoffs, that like playoffs, anything can happen, and like it's a different atmosphere.
Yeah. When we went on our championship run, man, we played Laurel, and I want to say they had the number three rusher in the state. And literally, the difference of the game was 1 point because he like tripped on a 2 point conversion, and that was it. And we won that game 7-6. It's like literally inches. One of our defensive backs swiped his heel, and he tripped down and fell right before the end zone, and that was the difference in the game. So it's funny because so much of our not I wouldn't even say identity, but so much of our success falls on the shoulders of 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids.
Mhm.
and,
It's
and
exciting.
yeah.
Like he's not going to want to hear this, but so Rory Graver, me and Varney worked coach with him at Wissahickon. He's the Wissahickon head coach. He was a longtime PJP coach.
Okay.
The best game I ever was a part of was 2018 when New Hope we played at PJP. PJP jumped out to a 21-0 halftime lead. They were really good,
They were
but
rolling.
we won 42-34. It started with the opening kickoff. We went down there. We caused a fumble, recovered it. A few plays later, we score. Now it's 21-7, 21-14, 21-21, and it was like one of those that kickoff just set it off. Like you never know how things are going to turn out with just one spark.
And to quote one of my favorite movies, Moneyball, how can you not be romantic about football? I mean, to have a
Right?
story like that where you come out and it's like cinematic. You come out, it's like, hey, we're down 21-0, guys, but I can feel it. We just need that one stop. You guys get it, and then it plays out almost like a Disney movie, like Remember the Titans. That's phenomenal, coach. Those are the springs.
Those guys were battle tested because the group that we had in 2018 was we really we really had some battle tested guys because the best team that we ever faced was the year before was 2017 with Conway Egan. Like Conway Egan had multiple defensive D1 guys. You had Patrick Garwell who ended up going to Boston College. You had Dwayne Majors who played in the Big 33 game. Like you had multiple guys who were D1 on that squad. And we actually played a really tough, playoff game versus them where it was 0-0 with like 3 minutes left in the second quarter, and then one mistake, and then a second mistake, and then a third mistake, and
And now we're
that's
rolling. And now the
yeah.
game is completely different. Coach,
Uh,
I'm gonna go back to one of the things that you said. You were like, kids learn differently, and I'm not in individuals' bodies. One of the things that I was able to recognize during my coaching career is that a lot of my players, they had these different learning styles. Whether
yes.
I would have if I did a team meeting or if I ran the quarterback room, I would send them a visual. We would talk through it orally. I would have them write their notes, or we would have them written down, and then we would go out and have a kind of a walkthrough period of whatever we just talked about in the classroom. What are some of the tactics or pedagogy that you use that has benefited your players the most? Or you can even talk about your playing career. What type of style of teaching and coaching did you connect with the most? And which ones
Well,
did your players too?
I work with special education students during the day.
Oh, so you know all
Uh,
about accommodations and
so
modifications for
that
sure.
theory that every kid learns differently, I take that approach into coaching as well because for somebody who also I dealt with learning disabilities growing up, what I needed was that patience, somebody who take the time. For me, I use progression teaching.
Okay.
So, like for a lot, obviously, New Hope, we have probably right now probably 6 or 7 guys who are National Honor Society kids, very smart. But like as you know, when it comes to football, like not many players are football smart and understanding why we do the things that we do. So I use progression teaching. Like today, I work with the offensive lineman down in practice. So we started off with keeping things simple with, okay, what are we thinking on this play here? Why are we doing it this way? Why do we want to put our butt this way? Why would we want to put our hands this way? Get them to think. When you can get kids to think critically now as opposed to, in a game, we want the kids to play fast in a game. So if I can get them to think critically now and help them understand that, I have you know, some of the best players that, I have can think critically and
Yeah.
like understand why the things that we do. Like understanding even the biology of a person's body. Why do we want to put our hand on their hip as opposed to putting it here or putting it there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, understand that I can control somebody's body just by putting my hand on their hip, as opposed to putting it here or there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we have I've had a couple players who could learn the playbook within 2 days, but for most kids you got to take things very slow, like step by step. Sometimes you got to take a couple steps backwards to refresh everything, and we're constantly refreshing everything. Like today was a big teaching day.
Yeah.
Like just I had the skill guys working with Coach Barn on learning how the difference between the inside and outside release and when do we want to use it for their you know on different pass concepts. Offensive line, I was with them, understanding like the ins and outs of power and counter. Where do I want my head? Where do I want my hand placement here?
Right.
And
Yeah.
a lot of it's just repetition too, as well. Like I got to be able to see things. For me as a player, some things didn't kick in until I saw it for a third or fourth time. Now it's finally like, in that real time. Now it's like, oh, okay. Then it becomes second nature.
For sure. I'm one of those learners as well, coach. I'm a visual learner, so even when I'm learning new concepts and stuff, I need to see the play art, and
Yeah.
then I love to watch people run through it. Even when, outside of ball, when you're doing dances and line dances, I need to see it a couple times. Okay, let me see how those steps go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got it. And that's how I get it. So I was one of those people that towards my end of my playing career, I was at the front of the line. But when I was a sophomore, a freshman, a junior, I was maybe third or fourth in line or sometimes in the back. So I can see somebody do it efficiently 1 or 2 times. I can hear the corrections, and then I can go through and do what I need to do. So um, even in the
Huddle is
classroom.
wonderful.
Right.
So for like, I had my quarterback this year. Uh, he's like you. He needs to see things. So the playbook, I have the actual, everything is diagrammed out. Here's the X's and O's. And what I do was, you can tag a video down at the bottom or several videos. So here's what it looks like in diagram. Here's what it looks like in like video. Like
Hmm.
Huddle has been great because it allows us to do like the practice plans. Here's the plays that we're going to look at, and here is like, here's what it looks like.
Hmm.
And like when we watch videos, like obviously come into the season, like defensively, I'm looking for certain things. What do they like to do? And like personnel wise, who do they have? Okay, so if I see something, like I said, go back to my original points, how do I exploit that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I go back to Kamal Egan, who had one of the best, probably the best defensive line that I've ever seen in 2017. Well, what can I do in practice to prepare these guys for game situations? Well, I knew that their defensive line were going to get upfield real quick. Well, what can we do to work on, getting out of my stance, and moving my feet right away? Well, we worked on kick side, turn and run. If I can turn it and force it to turn into essentially like a run block, now I'm creating lanes. I'm
Right.
allowing them to take themselves out of the play.
Right.
And it wasn't until like the first time we played them till they got that real game time experience that, okay, the stuff that we worked on in practice, it needs to be able to, you know once I got them to finally settle down, like, well, here you go, we worked on this all week. you
That's
know
it. You gotta pay attention during the work week because coach is telling you stuff, and I can't say it enough because it's not going to be the same until you get that first snap in the first quarter when you really truly see the speed that we were trying to give you as much as we could, but now it starts to click in and listen after the bullets are flying on the field as well. So that's great, coach. That's one of the reasons I started Film to Field because the football education piece was such a big part of my playing career. So when I played, I wasn't the biggest, the strongest, or the fastest. What allowed me to be in a position to play and even just get into college was my IQ. I remember the day that my football IQ was highlighted by my college position coach, Coach Woj. We were in our DB meeting. We were running half line drills in practice, and they had filmed it. And the day before, I heard him correct one of the safeties about getting their hips open on cover two. And he was like, "Your read is this number two receiver. As soon as he does anything that breaks his stem, get your hips open over the top, and then you'll be able to pattern match and recognize." I took that to heart. The next day in practice, I was able to flip my hips open. I was able to read it, pattern match it. They ran a chair, vertical and out. They ran a chair concept, and I was able to get a pick in practice just based off of me paying attention in the meeting and paying attention in the film room, so I can see things and then start to recognize the patterns of football and the patterns of routes and development. So um, I go to that because, Coach, what was a time in your career, playing or coaching, where the film really came to life and you were able to make a call or make a play based on something that you saw during your week of preparation?
uh, so for playing wise at Del Val, we were always constantly watching film. Obviously college is a different creature, and like if you're not watching film, like it's going to show.
Yeah.
I When I first started, when I think it was early in my career, one of the coaches that I kind of look up to Albie Crosby, who was at West Catholic, Newman Goretti. He was at Imotep for for a long time with those schools. And he made a comment to me the one time when we both did the Philadelphia Eagle youth camps. And he had said about at West Catholic is that you put you know, you put all that on the shoulders of the team, because if they're not watching film, it's going to show.
Yeah.
You have no clue what they're doing. All right. You have no clue what to expect. And the best teams that he was a part of, these guys were watching film. If it was 15 minutes a night, every day, they were putting in the work in for film time. You knew what they were doing offensively. You knew what they were doing defensively. Personnel wise, I could tell you that who their backups are. I can tell you, like, this player comes in and what downs.
Mm-hmm.
You see that all on film. And, like, that's the type of attitude that I try to instill in my players. Watch 15 minutes of film every night. Like, me and my defensive coordinator, and we put a lot of work into creating clips. Obviously, some players don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
So, like, we try to make it easier. Here, this is what you need to look for. Like, if I'm going to put the work in to make these clips, and just take a few minutes out of the day just to watch them. Like, and the best teams I've been a part of are those guys who, hey, coach, tell me more about this clip here. What should I look for? How should I do this? Like, they're engaging, and like that's what you want, is that receptiveness, that they're looking at what you're showing them.
Yeah. Could you go into that a little bit more, Coach? Like, how do you teach your players how to watch film? Or those questions or those conversations happen organically during the preparation week, or when you all are in your team meetings?
So for me, we watch the film on Mondays, and it all starts with self-reflection, because we watched the game before. What did we do? How can we correct it? Because I don't want to be taking some of the bad habits that I do myself into the next game, because the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
For sure.
Well, how can I change those bad habits? Okay, well, then we start looking at film of the next week coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we start for offensively. Let's start with what stands out. Okay, like defensively, what do they run? Okay, where are their defensive linemen? Where are their linebackers? Right off the bat, can we pass on these guys? What do we want to show? Like, if their corners are 10 to 12 yards off every play, well, okay, what passing game wise, what do we like right away?
Yep.
And there's certain plays that are pass plays that are just nothing more than an extension of the run game.
Yep.
There's certain pass plays that we don't like if there's a 50-man front. There's certain run plays that we don't like versus a 50-man front, because it's a little bit more challenging. So, like, personnel wise, all right, so years ago, Springfield Township, they like to almost cut the pulling guard. So
Okay.
they would go pretty low at the waist. Well, we saw that several times. Okay, I guess that's being taught to them.
Right.
So this is how you prepare for that. Okay. Skip forward to, a couple years ago, Hapo Horsham, the safety, when he came down to take on to set the edge, he had a tendency to also go low. Well, this is how we prepare for that. Like,
that's it.
Like, there's certain things that the safety will roll up. Okay, this is how we exploit that. Like, understanding what they like to do,
and those are small details too.
Yes, little things are big things.
Man, those are small details. I mean, those are just tells to, you get the scheme tendencies. You get like, okay, they like to run on third down, or they like to pass on fourth. But we played a game last year against Aliquippa, and another powerhouse. That game went down to the last, literally the last seconds of the game. You can find the clip. They won it on a Hail Mary about 35 yards in the end zone, to seal it for us. But after the game, one of my running back coach, they knew each other, and he was like, "You guys were really prepared. How did you know some of the things that we were running or when we were running. And they were like, man, your right tackle had a tendency. When you guys were passing the ball, he was a 2 point stance. When y'all were running the ball, he was a 1 point. And this is, I'm like, it's crazy because the weeks heading up to that, I'm like, man, get a 3 point stance. And he was like, Coach, because he's a big tall kid. He was like, he's 6'6", but I'm like, man, get your hand in the dirt because you're going to give a tendency to somebody. And he was like, lo and
Everyone, a
behold,
great wow. We'll see that, and I'll call it out right away. Okay, and obviously, you don't want to let on that you know, but yes, there are certain plays that you can pick up that,
yep,
like, obviously, one of them was Bristol last year. They had a really big kid. He had a tendency to do certain things on like this, and tendency to do that. So I said, listen, you got to look at. If it turned out he didn't play anyway because he was injured.
yeah. So I mean, it's those small details. Hey, whenever he takes on a pulling blocker, he dips his head. We can get around the edge.
Yes.
Or whenever this corner is in man to man, he plays this a certain way. Or whenever this receiver is going to go out for a pass, he's going to be into his stance. Or if he's blocking, he's going to be a little bit lazy if it's a run play. So those little
I'll
small
tell you what.
details.
One person you probably want to talk to is Rory Graver from Wissahickon because the way he breaks down film and stuff, he's so meticulous. And I enjoyed working with him because the way he looks at things. I can tell you that for us personally, when we scout, do self scout, he exploited a couple times versus us years ago, where he had his quarterback. He knew that on third and short, fourth and short, we were going to do certain things, and he would line up with two split ends out there, and he would throw like a quick screen out there, and we're
Scrambling.
all blitzing inside, and like there's no one covering. I'm going, yeah, he saw that on film.
Coach Roy Craver, Wissahickon. All right. I love how since I've been doing this and talking to coaches, the branches of communication have spread out. So I'm getting connected with people that I would have never in my million years been able to talk to, especially with just distance and just time. So it's been amazing. And I got another person to look at and look forward to, connecting with in the future.
I love the coaching clinics too because I don't know if you ever went to the coaching clinics because you have to be a student in the game. Because like if you're just a creature of habit and you refuse to get out of your bubble, like eventually that's just gonna, you know, you have to be a continuous learner.
Hmm.
And like I love learning from different coaches on why they do this and why they do that. What were they thinking? Like I even Rory, I literally it's amazing. I would sit back and just some of the things I'm picking up, I'm going, that's pretty clever. Like that's interesting. I never thought of it like that way. And like I go to coaching clinics and I'm going, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like I never thought of it like that. Like
Yeah.
to think outside the box.
I tell you what, one of the biggest out of the box things that I got from a Glazier clinic that came to Pittsburgh, um, the offensive line coach for Kent State, the way they teach their zone tracking with what do you call it? They use red light, green light, yellow light. Instead, it's a variation of covered uncovered rules. But for
Yes.
my players, whenever I told them the green light means go, the yellow light means you're looking to slow down and double team, and the red light means you're really in a bind. So like it helped them out tremendously, and it cleaned up a lot of our blocking schemes. And I never would have thought of doing it that way because I was taught uncovered rules for zone. And then here they come with this red light, green light, and me and my offensive line coach are sitting in that clinic like, dude, this is gold. We need to put this in
That was
tomorrow.
somebody else said that too. At the thing was that some players learn differently. So like I use the clock. Okay, like if I'm using my feet, I want to open my feet to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Some coaches use A and B steps. Like some players understand A and B. Some players like use the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do I reach that player? Like it's just very. I love how different coaches look at different things. It's very and how can you implement what they're doing into your own program? Some
Right.
of it works, and some of it obviously, obviously I can't. You can't do that.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I had to when you go clinic and you get a time by yourself and you come back with all these ideas and you were like, whoa, 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 I got a 16-year-old kid looking at me that doesn't know what I'm talking about, and he can't perform half the stuff that I saw that this 5-star 256 DN do. So he's not going to be doing the same things that I want him to do. So it is a little bit different when it puts you back into perspective and reality when you go back to your teams, but you can always take something away. And I'm
Of
a continuous
course.
learner. Glazier Clinic or the Glazier Drive is on my phone. I use X&O Labs, CoachTube, YouTube. And then conversations like this is something that I always wanted to do during my career, but I never had time to do. So now that I have more time, this has been an amazing journey talking to coaches on this podcast series. Coach, thank you so much for joining me. I got one more closing tradition on the pod, and
Okay.
that is, what is a book that is either in your life or in your coaching career that has helped you, shaped you into the person that you've become?
Ooh, I love Tony Dungy. He wrote a couple of books that were he specifically even said they're not just for men. Obviously he encourages like women to read them as well. Um, the one was oh god, I'm trying to think of it now. I read two of them. I'm trying to think of their names. I'll tell you right.
Yeah, I'll get it. Even if you don't, I'll get it. I promise.
I'll tell you right now. Oh, it was Quiet Strength and then
Quiet Strength.
Uncommon. So I
Quiet
read
Strength.
both of those books, and like he talks about obviously his experience with, obviously growing up, his experience with playing, and then as coaching. Because again, a lot of it's just trial and error and understanding, like growing with the process yourself. And he was another one that you could, he wasn't a yeller. He was a big time teacher, and that was and obviously that's important and stuff is to have the patience to deal with different people that you come across.
Yeah,
And as
for
a
sure.
father, like going through some of the adversity he went through, like
Sure.
that's remarkable.
Quiet Strength and Uncommon. Man,
Mhm.
I had heard about Tony Dungy's stories and books, especially when you talk to when you listen to Mike Tomlin and everything, and how instrumental he was in his career. Now I have two more things to read over the summer, man. During the summer season when school's out, that's what I do is I sit down and read books. I just finished um, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, given to me by Coach Bruce Fleming over at Abington. So
Abington.
yeah, so now I got another one
I'll
to
see Bruce in a few weeks. They're coming over for a tournament, like a round robin
707.
tournament. Yeah, he's a good guy.
A
Is
great
Bruce
man.
Fleming?
He
Absolute
was
great guy.
he was phenomenal, and he opened up. He was he gave me all the information. He even talked to me about stuff off air and gave me emails and wishing me happy Father's Day. I mean, it was a connection that I made maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and now it's growing into something that. So he's a really special type of person.
Well, you got my email. If you ever need anything, trust me, reach out. And I'm an open book to anybody.
Thank you so much, Coach, for joining me today.
Not a problem. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for watching this episode of Film2Field Case Studies. If you found value in today's conversation, a summary can be found in the show notes. Subscribe and share it with another athlete or coach, and we'll see you in the next case.